Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the June 17th Milledgeville Rotary meeting. Please make sure you've silenced your cell phones. As our Rotarian of the day, Frank Atkinson comes up.
All right, now that the team scared everybody with the bell, I think we can get started. All right, let's open up the prayer. Lord, thank you for our many blessings. We thank you for this club. We thank you for this wonderful lunch, and bless the hands that prepared it. Thank you for our guest speaker today. We look forward to hearing his message. And Lord, we pray for our community and our nation. Give us humility and strength as we serve each other. We ask for these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, four-way test. The things we think, say, or do. First is true. Second
Is a very long concern.
Third.
Will it will my friends.
Fourth.
Will it be beneficial of all concerned.
I think there's a fifth one.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Okay, as you sit down, don't forget those blue buckets for Alzheimer's research. Last week we had $24. We get one or two matches for $10. Okay, Jim. Anybody else? Okay. $10, yes. Okay, William, any prayer requests this week? No? Okay. Announcements. Any announcements? No announcements? Okay. Visitors. Nelson?
Yeah, we have 2 visitors today. Let Jim and Jennifer introduce them.
Kristen Villarreal, she wears a couple of easy jobs during the day. She runs a law firm for her husband. She's a real estate agent for me, and then that's easy because she's a great mother and wife. 6 kids plus a lose her husband makes it 7.
Wow.
I have with me Adam Bartlett's in the mouth. So for any of you who came through Lottery and Lights last year, this is the guy that made it happen. Thank you for already planning on my making bigger and better.
Welcome. Okay, Nelson, ready for the drawing?
All right. Let Keith pick the winner here.
There's $352 in this.
All right, here we go. 227 5802. Jimmy. All right, Jimmy. Which one is it? Oh, not that. No.
I think I saw Wendell sneak in here. Oh, we went to go get food? Okay. We'll do it afterwards. You want to introduce our speaker?
Today, I'm happy to introduce Aaron Buzza. He's from Visit Macon, so he's going to tell us what's happening in the city right next door.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you all. I appreciate being here. Appreciate the invitation very much. Thank you for lunch. I don't know. I'm a Rotarian on hiatus, so I appreciate just being here and being able to say the 4-way test. I want to give a disclaimer. I'm going to use my parents as an example, not because I dislike my parents, but because they're an easy example of maybe how people might not understand and they don't feel bad because they're not here if I use them as a maybe negative example. So I want to get that out there just to begin with. Visit Macon, formerly the Macon-Bibb County Convention and Visitors Bureau. Just a little bit of, I don't know, brief history. Over the past I would say 8 or so years, more and more of us, destination marketing organizations, formerly convention and visitors bureaus, are calling ourselves Verb and then the name of the city, Visit Macon. Because it's a heck of a lot easier to say Visit Macon than the Macon-Bibb County Convention and Visitors Bureau. That's a lot when you're answering the phone. Also, here's my mom as an example. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm not sure she could succinctly tell somebody, what does it mean by a Convention and Visitors Bureau? But Visit Macon? Absolutely. We promote people coming to visit Macon. Very simple and straightforward with what we do. Then we're not confused with the Chamber of Commerce. We don't run a convention center. We're not the business bureau. We are Visit Macon, the destination marketing organization for our community. Just a brief who we are. We've been in business for 39 years, bringing visitors, tourists, and events to Macon-Bibb County. We draw tens of thousands of visitors to Macon every day. And visit, when we use it in this terminology, is somebody driving 50 miles or more to a destination. That's industry standard terminology. I had a board member ask me one time, yeah, but that's all fine and dandy. You can say tens of thousands of people visit, but can you boil it down a little bit more so it's more tangible? And I said, sure, absolutely. So we have 5,000 hotel rooms in Macon, plus or minus. Every day, between 2,500, on an average day, 2,500 to 3,000 of those rooms are filled. So that's 2,500 to 3,000 people if they're staying by themselves, which we know people don't stay by themselves in hotel rooms. There's families, there's couples, however that works, but there's at least 2,500 to 3,000 people staying overnight in Macon. So do we get to tens of thousands of people? Absolutely, because we operate 2 visitor centers, the one downtown and the one at the I-75 split. And we're sending people out as they're passing through town on their way to Savannah, on their way to Florida, to say, you look for something to eat, check out the Rotary. Check out something that's local, that tells a little bit more about Macon, and don't just stop at the chain restaurant on the interstate. We're rapidly growing Macon as a sports, film, and outdoor hub. I've been in Macon for 4 years now, and just before I got here, we were still in the mold of, we're a convention bureau first. We're promoting meetings. And yeah, there's other stuff to do, but we're promoting meetings. Sports is huge. Nationwide, sports is huge. If you look at Wide World of Disney, there's a reason that Walt Disney put up a gigantic sports complex where you can host youth lacrosse tournaments and also the NBA bubble last summer, because there's money there. There's a guy who started the National Association of Sports Commissions a number of years ago who has said, why do you travel for sports? Because your daughter's only 12 once. So we as parents are investing in sporting events. So we as communities need to invest in sporting events. So we see soccer, we see tennis, we see baseball, volleyball, wrestling. We're growing pickleball significantly in Macon as well. So sports has become one of our leading markets in Macon. Film, I'll talk about it in a little bit. It's become much larger over the last several years. And then outdoors, I'll talk about that a little bit more too. But through 2020, that elephant in the room, people were still looking for things to do. What could we do? We could send them outside. We've got Emerson River Park. We've got Okmulgee Mountains. All of those places people can go and enjoy, pandemic or no. And you could do it without a face mask. So that was awfully nice, and people wanted those experiences. In 2019, and this is the last data that we have in concrete form, we had visitors from 26 counties and 46 states who booked tours or stays through us. It's a $5.1 million economic value. That's significant to the community, and that doesn't include other people who are just coming through town as leisure visitors as well. We're storytellers. At the very bottom line of what it is that we do, we're storytellers. We need to be able to tell people about the local community. We can say, and we've done this in the past as an industry, We make memories. We come and experience and go shopping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very broad, general, and sort of vague terms. We've sort of narrowed our focus to realize that we're storytellers and we need to be able to talk about what makes our destination special. Previously to living in Macon, I lived in Waterloo, Iowa, the home of the John Deere tractor assembly. We go everywhere in green and gold, much to John Deere's chagrin at sometimes. But that's the story we would tell. In Macon, we're talking about music history because of the vast music history that we have. Food is always a great story to tell because the local restaurants, the local cuisine are unique to that community that you're in, whether it's Macon or Milledgeville or Daytona Beach. I can tell you that Applebee's is out there, but you can find that on an app. You want to come into a visitor center and hear about the great place to get the burger. Where's the place that the hotel front desk staff goes when they're done with work? Where do they go to get a burger? And it's probably going to be some local dive, and that's where people want to go. They want to find out where the locals are going. We talk about nightlife. We talk about outdoor spaces. We talk about, and just overall history in our architecture. I just drove a tour this morning that stopped at the Hay House and the Cannonball House because of the history. People wanted to experience those two things. We've got the International Cherry Blossom Festival, of course, high school sports tournaments. We've been growing our partnership with GHSA. We're at the heart of bringing tourists to our community for significant economic impact. What does that mean? This is my favorite stat, I think, of anything that I could send to somebody. I'm talking to my neighbor across the street. Hey, Chris, yeah, I hear you that it took an extra 30 minutes to get to your table at the whatever restaurant that you were at over the weekend. But you know, those visitors put money in your pocket or keep you from spending more money. I, as a property owner, spend $500 less in my property taxes because of the visitor spending in our economy. That's significant. I always say I don't mind spending my money on taxes. I'm willing to pay my fair share. But if you're going to save me $500, I'm listening. That's $500 that probably my kids have already spent. I have two daughters, 11 and 13. So yes, it's that $500 is long gone. We invest $1 in marketing our community, and we've done a study through somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. And it is not just me standing here saying it. $54 comes back to the community for every dollar that we spend as Visit Macon marketing the community. That's a pretty darn good return on investment, I'd say. Our travel and tourism industry supports 3,800 jobs, $409 million in direct spending in our community, $17 million in state tax revenue, $10 million in local, and $97 million in payroll. There's a lot of people in that 3,800 jobs making an awful lot of money who are homeowners, who are going to buy their gas, who are going to buy their milk, who are spending the money in the community, and that ultimately changes hands. Again, my parents is the example. This sounds crass, but we're all friends, so I can say this. What we do is import taxpayers. We bring people to the community. Jim and Kathy Buzza come to Macon, Georgia, from Decorah, Iowa. They stay in a hotel, their choice, not mine. I've offered the house. They take the kids shopping. We go out to eat. We go to the attractions. They're spending money while they're in town. Now, granted, I'm spending some money too, but they're spending money that's not from Macon. There's taxes that are associated with that funds roads, police and fire, all of the government services that I get to utilize, and then they leave. They haven't touched any of those services other than roads, and hopefully not police and fire. So we're importing their tax money. They're going home, and we reap the benefits. So what visitors bring to the economy is significant, and what we do is significant. We've done a really poor job as an industry over the years telling our story too. If I'm talking to a politician, hey, you know, we make memories, family vacations, smiles, pictures, that sort of thing. That doesn't resonate as much as we just put $10 million in the general fund. That goes an awful long way. Again, the elephant in the room, the pandemic challenge. It is awfully nice to be here. The last time I spoke to a Rotary Club, it was with a mask on, looking at everybody with masks on and 45 people on Zoom. This is much nicer. So I'm glad to be here, being able to look at this sort of in the rearview mirror. Nationwide, the travel industry declined 42%. 42% decline. 65% of all of the unemployed workers were from the hospitality industry. That is a drastic drop in employment. And we do a good job of hiring, and we do a good job of promoting from within. But if you don't have customers, because nobody's traveling, nobody's going out to eat, nobody's doing what we regularly do, those folks don't have a place to go. We developed a strategic action plan to shift our marketing. As I talked about, we were promoting our local outdoor activities. What can you do outside? Go to the skate park. Go to a baseball game. Kids were still playing sports because, again, outdoors. Go kayaking. Do all the things that you can do and bring your family. And we saw a lot of people coming from about a 250-mile radius to Macon because of those activities. And we shifted sales from corporate sales and association sales because they weren't having meetings. Everything was being done on Zoom. So we looked at the film market. We looked at some of the sports markets and tried to figure out how we can get some short-term wins and then build that into some long-term successes as well. And we did a really, really good job through our board leadership of having a rainy day fund. Both Gary Wheat, our CEO, and myself came from the same place in Iowa. And we had leadership there who said, put money away. You're a nonprofit, but that doesn't mean that you can't sit on some savings for a while, because you might need that at some point. You might get to invest in a ball field development. A friend of mine just told me that they invested $1 million in turfing all of their softball fields in their community that was matching the community's investment. So there's opportunities with those strategic reserves, but because we had that, we were able to survive and we didn't lay off any full-time staff. Because our visitor centers weren't open, our part-time staff was furloughed, but we all worked. It was different work. There was a lot of database management and combing through contacts and sending emails to make sure that we had the right information so that as soon as we could say go, we were ready to take steps forward and we weren't 2 steps behind of any of our competitors trying to rehire staff and bring everybody back up to speed. We were able to go as soon as the opportunity presented itself. Let's talk about film a minute. In 2018, it seems like forever ago, but only 3 years ago, our volunteer film commission that was organized under the film festival came to us and said, you know what, this film industry is kind of like what you do already. It's not dissimilar to promoting Macon for a convention or a sporting event. You're finding a location for somebody and then, bringing them in, showing them around, and trying to sell the community as much as you are selling the one location. So why don't you do it? Because we're all volunteers. Somebody was moving to Atlanta and they now moved to Palm Springs. Somebody else was grandpa and wanted to just spend time being grandpa, and others had taken other roles. So we said, okay, we'll give it a whirl. And our board said, give it the rest of the fiscal year. So we've got about 10 or 11 months to really kind of figure out whether this is an investment we wanted to make. Not knowing anything, literally nothing other than I've watched movies before. I said to our CEO, you know what, rather than hire somebody and try to figure out what we're hiring them to do and how much to pay them, let me do it. Take some of these duties over here and give them to this person that we're hiring. And that can be another 20% of their job description. I'll take this and we'll just see. And within 2 weeks, my phone was ringing off the hook. Like my cell phone number got out there and I was showing people around. I was climbing through fences, probably trespassing, probably in places where I should have been wearing more protection or having some sort of protection on me. But we've been, I use the term loosely, we've been rolling ever since. We've had 9 films in 2019. That's up from 1 in 2018. So that's not all me. I'd like to say some of it's me. That's not all our involvement. Some of it's our involvement, but we've had a much more increased focus on Macon as a film destination because of architecture, because we are easy to navigate. Our permitting process isn't so rigid that somebody can't say, you know, it's going to rain Saturday, we'd like to shoot Sunday instead. In Atlanta, don't bother. Don't ask, because it's going to take you 3 weeks to get through that process. I'll make a couple of calls and go, yeah, okay, we're good. The cops will be there. So people have recognized that we're an easier place to shoot movies. Each production brings a large cast and crew, and that's a huge boost for our local businesses. Just as an example, when Netflix filmed 8 days of Hillbilly Elegy, the Ron Howard film, $1.3 million was spent in Macon. That's not, well, we brought a bunch of equipment from Atlanta, and that counts toward that $1.3 million. That was $1.3 million spent in Macon in 8 days. They did about 4,000 hotel room nights, which is very significant. There's no convention, there's no sporting event that does that. This is 8-day period. They brought in that kind of money, and that's money that's going to turn over, because that's paying cops. That's going into local businesses. That's, hey, we know you make pizza. How about making an additional 50 pizzas for our crew tonight? That's a pretty significant boost for local businesses. As we went through the pandemic, I offered virtual scouting, which was kind of weird, doing some scouts on Zoom. And I've ended up, and I guess coming out of the pandemic, I've become more of a location scout myself for people, because it's easy to call me, because everybody's got 14 projects that they're working on. They'll go, hey, Aaron, can you send me some photos of X, Y, and Z? I was standing in the middle of Highway 80 the other day in the morning, doing this, morning traffic, like, all right, I got a minute. Snap, 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 snap. Walk out of traffic, send the photos. Just because it's easy for us to do that. So that's still kind of a remnant of that virtual location scouting. And we're making pitches to things that are shooting in a couple of weeks. I just talked to somebody yesterday who said, we're not filming until next year, but I want to get a jump start on everything so I can lock down my locations. Very different sort of approach, just based on the size of the production and based on who it is. We installed this wayfinding signage during the course of last year. And this has been just a beautiful marketing piece for us. This was a partnership between ourselves and Newtown Macon, the downtown organization. This signage shows up in the background of so many photos that are taken in downtown. It's free marketing for us. It is absolutely wonderful. And it helps, because if you go somewhere and you're wandering around a place that you don't necessarily know, to be able to say, A, I recognize the logo. I recognize the continuity of the logo to tell me where I'm going. And you could walk into this and, you know, it's bigger than a human being is. So somebody can't say that they didn't see it. I'm sure people have not seen it as they're, you know, looking at their phone or something like that. But you can walk up, you can read it. It's very easy to see. And we have these throughout all of downtown. Just a little bit of tourism promotion of what we do. We were talking a little bit earlier about tracking on Facebook ads. We've done some research through a company that tracks cell phone usage. So if you have an app open, and I please don't opt out after I say this, certain apps will track your location. So this company that we buy the research from buys all of this data and then pulls it together. And so then I know that in 2018, 116,585 people were in downtown Macon during Macon Burger Week. I know that 13,865 of those were from more than 50 miles away. That is the power of what it is that we're doing as we're on our phones. I don't see who it is. I don't see any phone numbers. I get some general, you know, male 35 to 44, that sort of thing. I also get some additional data like male 35 to 44, 2 kids, and X, Y, and Z other information that we're not using necessarily, but we're able to kind of pinpoint more where people are coming from. We can see the success of our marketing because we can say, oh, there was a lot of people who were here from Jacksonville for that. So maybe we should double down on Jacksonville next year for this same event. We saw just a little bit of a drop in 2019. They changed the dates of that Burger Week. And then in 2020, we were back up to pre-pandemic levels almost of people who came in for Macon Burger Week to that area. We've implemented a virtual experience during the Cherry Blossom Festival and the Christmas Lights Festival. We have a Earth Cam partnership, and so we mount that, and people can watch the cherry blossom trees bloom at Wesleyan College. People can watch the Christmas lights that are timed to the music. You don't necessarily get the same experience, but you can have the experience to a certain extent. And we're seeing anywhere from almost 70 to over 80,000 people tuning into that camp. And that's from all over the world. The average view time is over 4 minutes on those too, which is pretty significant. It's interesting just looking at some of the Bloom Cam statistics from this last year. There were people that just had it on all day. So it must have been like, I've got 2 screens on my desktop. I'm just gonna have one looking at the cherry blossoms, and then one I'm gonna do my work. So there were people who were there all day. And then we're doing a lot of geofencing. Again, using the cell phone data. We're putting out ads, and we're seeing people who are fed an ad come into the area that we've then said is a conversion zone in Macon. And the provider that we use has said, nobody's getting the significant numbers of conversions that you're getting anywhere. And so we've been able to talk to other partners too about how to use that data, how to use the information that we're able to capture to bring people in. As an example, and again, this is maybe more than you might want to, might have thought you were going to get or might want to know. If people are driving south on 475, they might stop at a hotel, and 12% of those visitors come to downtown. Comparatively, if you're staying in a hotel that's off of I-75, it's more than 60% of people coming to downtown. So we're utilizing that data. The Knight Foundation is helping us, and the Newtown Macon is helping us as well to do marketing so that people who are staying there have the experience of coming downtown, because it does seem like 2 different worlds when it's only about 12 minutes away. So we're trying to get people to understand, you don't have to just eat at Cracker Barrel. You can come downtown and eat at some place local. So the geofencing campaign that we've done and the research that we've done have really led to some successes that we're planning to grow on. I'm not going to read these to you. You can take a look at your leisure as I'm visiting, but this is again using that cell phone data. We're seeing significant visitation, and we like to break it down. Like at Okmulgee, over 36 months, almost 600,000 people were there, and 134,000 of those folks were from more than 50 miles away. Again, that's showing people wanting to visit. It also shows a really interesting local usage of Okmulgee Mountains National Historical Park. The Christmas lights brought in almost 700,000 people their first year, over 700,000 the second year, down this year, of course, to just under 400. But you see the percentages of people who are coming in and then staying, who are from more than 50 miles away. Centerplex with concerts and conventions. Obviously, you see growth from 18 to 19. We like to see that that's our influence as well as the influence of the new management at the Centerplex. And then tennis, as I said before, is very significant for us. And 20 dropped a lot because they had to cancel a number of tournaments. And we have so many tournaments this year, it is incredible. So I'm really excited to see how these numbers come back. And I would guess, based on what we're seeing already, that 2021 will probably exceed 2019, just because people want to play. People want to get out and travel. And so we're having the success with our partnership with the Macon Tennis Association to get people to come to town. As I said, tourism's coming back. People want to get out and about. I mean, I won't do the by show of hands, but if I asked, I'm sure everybody wants to go somewhere. I mean, Orlando, Kentucky, Jamaica. At our table, in just a conversation, we're all going somewhere. And I think that bodes well for all of us. Cherry Blossom Festivals brought in people from all over the world this year. Even at the very tail end of, we're not sure what to do yet, people from all over the world were in Macon for that. And we're more confident that we have an ability to come together and bring people together in our community. I want to show this video really quick. How do I switch to the other screen here? Should it? Maybe. There we are. It doesn't. It's working. There we are. There is a running joke in the office that if you are taking a paycheck from Visit Macon, that means that you've signed a waiver to appear in any of those videos. Almost everybody in that video either does or has worked for Visit Macon, or is benefited by somebody working for Visit Macon. My kids were eating pizza. I would be happy to answer any questions. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to visit today. And other than Rebecca, please ask away. Because Rebecca's going to ask me tough questions. Sure.
I'll just say, the whole chain, the downtown improvement, the restaurants and all sorts of things, has been really, really impressive. And, it's, and sitting here watching this video, well, that's just very nice. What I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff. It's one of the cool things about having these Rotary programs is for mountains. The things that are in our backyard.
I agree with you, and thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll say a great presentation. Two things. One, Little League sports is recession proof. That's the one business that mom and dad can pay that money.
100%.
Well, Johnny can play for free. You do it.
Yep.
It's recession proof. All right. The second thing is, You have convinced me, I will have my, unless I'm making a emergency call, my phone will be off from now on. That is incredible, like that, those statistics, I didn't realize that could think like that, that's really interesting. It's very interesting.
I've actually thought about opting out of
Yes.
location tracking, and then I thought, you know what, I use this data, I better not. So
Yeah.
anytime I'm asked, I'm like, okay, fine.
Is the beer fest gonna happen this
It
year?
is. They just announced their dates this morning, and I think if I remember right, it's the 28th or 29th of October. Yeah, they moved from August to October 2 years ago, and then didn't have it last year, but it made it much more pleasant in October.
What kind of visits is the sports hall getting? Is there still a question about the number of people coming and support of it?
No, well, more is always better, of course. They're seeing a lot of visitation, and I paused for a second because I was trying to think. I have them looped as far as my data collection is concerned. I don't know off the top of my head, so I can't say up, down, even, 40% up or whatever that is. But our office is a block away, and anytime I drive by, there's a bus there. Whether it's a motor coach or school buses, they've been fantastic partners as we've welcomed GHSA, both basketball and wrestling. And we had cheer this last year, and we've had tennis in the past. They are inundated during those events especially, but any given day you walk in and there's folks in there. So they're doing really well. Jim McClendon has done a fantastic job. And the other thing is they're seeing more and more inquiries about their space usage. Just rentals. The Macon Film Festival is using it this year, for instance. So they're not siloed as we're an attraction that only caters to the sports fan. It's we're a venue, we're storytellers. Let's get people in the building, and then give them a taste because you're here for the film festival. And then, oh man, I've got to bring the family back because this is something cool. So they're doing very well.
It is nice, but I mean, I just knew at one time, I was thinking that I heard a few years back, that there was a jeopardy of making losing sports hall, or sports hall. So I've been here, it was really interesting.
I sat in on a meeting, it was like forever ago now, it might have been 2 years ago, where there was some planning toward what do we do going forward. And obviously more money, anybody could use more money. But there wasn't a concern of we're about to fade away. It was more, how do we continue to grow on this path that we're growing on? So I think that bodes well for all of us, because you'd hate to have any sort of facility that's that size, but also that kind of attraction not exist. Yeah.
How did the Centerplex fare for all of this, the live concerts and all that stuff, and what kind of happens here?
I appreciate you asking that. I should have used that as an example in film. They did really well because they did outdoor concerts. As people started to figure out how to navigate it, they did a lot of outdoor concerts. They did a movie series, and then I probably will never know the full story as to how it happened, but we ended up hosting a Turner production that was there for almost 60 days. And they bought out the Marriott, they bought out the Centerplex, and created a bubble to film what they ended up calling the Go Big Show. And we just found out last week, in fact, that they're coming back for season 2. So season 2 Go Big Show will be filming end of July through mid-September. Because of that, they were able to not have as many people on furlough. They were able to bring people back, and that sort of helped make their year. It helped make our year. I'm not going to lie. I mean, that was a very, very significant piece of business for us. Others? Thank y'all. And if you talk to my mom and dad, please tell them that I spoke highly of them.
Okay, announcements, let's see. Next week, Angie and Tom are gonna run the meeting. I'll be in Kentucky, as Aaron mentioned. We won't meet on the 1st, but then we'll have officer changeover on the 8th. Any other announcements? We have a couple minutes. When do you want to do a quick happy dollars?
Well, we'll get it next time. How about
All right,
that?
sounds good.
Appreciate you.
All right, so we are dismissed.